Having a grey day, like I am Mr. Grey.
You're having a grey day. I'm having a very...
What are those pants?
Pants? Trousers? Trousers? What country are you living in?
Who wears burgundy trousers in 2023?
I do, thank you. Finished?
Yeah.
Should we get on with the review? Well, welcome to the channel, everybody. Lee has, he's requested this as a test. We've had to drag this driver that he is using out of his actual golf bag.
Kicking and screaming.
Kicking and screaming, because you've actually tested with it and you've done extremely well with it, haven't you?
I love it.
You love it?
It's my driver of the year so far.
Well, reveal it to everybody.
It's the very cheap Wilson Dynapwr carbon. When I say cheap, I don't mean cheap in its cheap in its materials. I mean cheap in its cost.
Though? Is it cheap?
It's cheaper than the major brands, but I think a lot of people will think it's expensive for this brand. But cost is.
How much can you get that club for now?
The carbon is £399.
Oh, £399. So it's 400 quid. Compared to what I've brought is the Ping LST, the G430 Ping LS Tech. Yeah. But the reason why we've gone LS Tech, because the carbon is their kind of low spinning version. They make a two heads, don't they?
Yes, titanium and carbon. So titanium would be more designed for the Max when it comes to Ping. So the carbon, in theory, should go against the LST because this has got the carbon crown, which the Max doesn't.
Well, what's interesting, we've never actually tested the LST, have we?
No.
We've not done a video on it, but we have both done videos on the Wilson. So go and check those out if you want a bit more information on that. But in this video, we're going to be putting them as a head-to-head. Which one do you think is going to win?
The Ping should win on ball speed and distance.
Yeah. Because
it's the low spin version. Just don't underestimate the Wilson.
I won't.
No, don't underestimate the Wilson.
Considering it's been in your golf bag for the last couple of weeks, I won't underestimate
it. Don't underestimate. It's a straight golf club. It goes quite a distance. It's a little surprise package.
The word Lee and straight, not sure that goes together. Let's hit some shots. Let's give you some numbers.
So like Dan said, this has come kicking and screaming out of my golf bag, because when I reviewed this, I went into it with a bit of, oh, it's just a Wilson golf club, we'll give it a go. But I was super impressed with it, to the point it's made its way into my bag for testing. Testing, Dan. You may not see it again, but it's in there for testing. What I love about it is it's a step up for Wilson. So Wilson drivers have always been a little bit either gimmicky because of what happened with the program on America, where it was build your own. There was loads of like gimmicks around, or I hate to use the word, but a little bit cheap looking. Whereas this carbon, I think, looks superb. And like a lot of brands, it's gone down the M2 kind of route, where it's got like a matte finish or a colour at the front, and then the carbon crown on top, and a very distinctive difference between the way they both look when you look down on it. But what you may think is £400 for a driver by Wilson is expensive, but it's got a lot of carbon on it, and carbon isn't a cheap material. It's got a carbon sole, it's got a carbon crown, so it's copying what all the other brands are doing when it comes to carbon. It's just at a lower price bracket. But the main reason why the Wilson's in the bag is performance. Okay, that shot may not have done much to prove that, but when I've been out on course with it, it's been hugely, hugely straight for me. Now the LST. The Ping has always been a favourite of mine. I played the G425. We've reviewed and done a lot of comparisons with the Max, and I think it's arguably still one of the best drivers of the year, definitely for forgiveness. But for me, I always found it a bit spinny. So is this LST that best of both worlds for me? The difference when you're looking down at this compared to the Max is the crown, and I'll go into that when I go into the tech, is that carbon looking crown. But otherwise, it just looks like a very smaller version of a Max. Got the turbulators, got all the accents that you like about the Ping, and everything that made me love the look of the G430 when I first saw it. But for the LST, it has to be about performance. And that's my worry when it comes to low spin drivers, is you don't quite get it right, it goes right.
Well, for me, the Ping G430 driver really ticked a lot of boxes. I believe that it was the best driver that Ping have made to date. I love the fact they've dulled down the noise off the face compared to the G425 that Lee used to hit. And from a looks point of view, I think they've just quietened everything down a fraction when you look down at it, down at the ball. And to be honest, comparing this to the G430 Max, I'm not seeing a great deal of difference when I look down at the actual driver head. Maybe it's a little bit smaller in its profile from sort of front of the driver to the back of the driver, but when you haven't got them sort of net side by side, you're not going to notice a great deal of difference. And then the sound off the face. Oh, I missed all the trees. Identical feel off the face, but just like what Lee said, you get these low spin models wrong and you're going to get massive dispersions from them. But I think it is important just from a testing point of view to make sure you actually hit a fairway with it. Oh, have I got the line? Have I got the line? We'll go into the tech in just a minute, but I mean, from a tech point of view, I'm expecting to see a lot more technology in the head of this Ping compared to the Wilson. And price always is a barrier for a lot of people out there, but it will be interesting to see the difference in the numbers between the two of them. When it comes to the Wilson, the difference between the titanium and the carbon is more to do with, like we said earlier, to do with the spin and how that club head is designed to perform. But I gotta say, I do like the look of the titanium head in comparison to the carbon look. With Lee mentioned earlier about the divide of the two, the gluing together, the molding together of two materials. It just, I don't know, I think we could probably, hopefully technology-wise, we should have been able to maybe get past that a little bit more now. But I don't dislike the shape of this head. I think it's a good looking shape. I just would like to see maybe a little bit quieter look on top. One thing I am noticing now though, and I didn't really sense it when I did a full test of the titanium and the carbon version, but it feels a lot lighter. Now I know obviously we're trying to strip weight out of the head, putting in carbon on the crown and in the actual sole of the club, but just the feel of them now, I'm definitely sensing that I'm getting a lighter feel out of the Wilson in comparison to what I'm feeling out of the G430. And I suppose if you're going to go lighter, the idea of that is to maximize club head speed, hit the ball just that a little bit harder because you've got a lot less to sort of drag down to the golf ball.
You can pick your other ball up while you're there.
There must be a lot of wind out the right. Have we set this wind up off the right? Is that what we've done there? But let's get Lee to talk a little bit about the tech on both these clubs.
Okay, let's start with the Wilson Dynapwr first. And unlike the other brands, there's not really a lot to shout about when it comes to this. You've got a carbon sole and you have a carbon crown. That's just designed to strip weight out of the head and be able to just push weight, in this case, a little bit more forward in order to get those low spinning shots. You have a 12-gram weight at the back just to add that MOI to it. But this is a straight bias club. It's a neutral bias club and is designed for those low spin shots. And what you're getting then is an AI designed face, basically variable thickness face on the front, which all the manufacturers are doing. And that's just designed to, as you miss the center of the golf club, which a lot of us do, you still get maximum ball speed or maximum potential out of that golf club. The other thing you're getting, which I like to see, is an adjustable hosel, so you can adjust the lofts on this club, which is always something I love to see when it comes to a driver, especially at this price point. And now moving on to the LST. Now, there's not a lot of differences between this and the G430 Max. You've obviously got spin consistency on the face. That's just designed to give you a more consistent spin over the face. It has got a forged face on the front, but unlike the Max, this has now got carbon fly wrap. So this crown is now very well put together, goes from a sort of titanium front into a carbon crown, and all that's going to do is strip weight off the top. So in this case, you can put the weight a little bit further forward in the face to give you those low spinning shots. And like all the other clubs, it does have adjustability on the neck and a movable weight on the back, just to be able to move the MOI slightly more into a draw or fade bias depending on your shot shape.
So tech-wise, like you said, simplicity. There's not a lot going on in the actual Wilson, is there?
No, it's just an advancement on what they've ever done before, and I don't think anyone can argue it's their best ever driver. They've now just gone more carbon to lightweight. Everyone's doing AI face or variable thickness face, but that's it. There's no shouting jailbreak, 360 frame, twist face, carbon face. It's just, we think this driver is good. This is what it does. Go and use it.
Go and test it.
Yeah.
And I think from a tech point of view, like you say, with carbon fly wrap and big words that these marketing departments of these companies are using to almost like almost like confuse us in a way.
Yeah, why don't you say carbon crown? Why is it a carbon fly wrap? It's not a wrap, it's a crown. It's not wrapping anything.
Yeah, and the forged face side of things, I mean, is that going to give us any difference in feel? When I think of forged, I think soft, buttery type of feel.
Yeah.
Are we getting that from this?
I don't really feel the difference. It's really difficult to have feel with a driver.
Yeah.
Obviously, something like the TaylorMade has a different feel, but it's a completely different material.
Yeah.
When it comes to a titanium face, which ultimately all these are, I think they feel similar. It's just the sound and feel basically molds itself into overall feel, doesn't it?
One thing I like from a fitting point of view is definitely the little rail on the back.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like, why can't we see that in most drivers?
And I think that's where you said this feels light, that feels heavy. You know, this has got a 12 gram weight. I don't know, does it say what that is? It doesn't say.
But it's got obviously a screw to be able to move.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit heavier. And I've always found ping heads to be slightly heavier than most anyway.
Okay.
But when you think of the range that you're getting, titanium, the max is titanium, then you've got the carbon, the LST is carbon.
Yeah.
It's very similar. It's a good comparison between the two.
Okay, give me your numbers on both of them.
Okay, so my numbers are very surprising, but then at the same time unsurprising to me. Let's start with a ping. Average ball speed 151.5. It is down on where I'd want to be. I'd normally want to be up to 160, but it's not warm anywhere in here at the moment, so that's going to have some form of a count. Launch angle 10.4, a little bit low from where I'd kind of want it to be, but the spin at 2.6 is not bad spin for a max driver. It's not what I'd want to see for an LST driver, but there is one there at 3.7, but then they're down at 1800, so it is a little bit jumpy for me. And the average carry distance of 241 is appalling, but that is more down to the fact I just couldn't get on with it. I really, really couldn't get on with it. I struggled to hit the planet, as you can see, just wasn't for me. Whereas when we go to the Wilson, ball speed is nearly 3 miles an hour quicker, very similar launch angle at 10.2, but the spin now is down at 2000. But what I find with the Wilson is that's a controllable spin. It's very strange, but it's as if it's a forgiving spin. With an average carry distance of 255. Not great across the board when it comes to numbers for me, but overall, the Wilson performed and felt head and shoulders better than the Ping.
So some similarities with what I'm getting out of these two drivers, certainly from a ball speed point of view. The Wilson giving me 152 mile an hour, the Ping giving me 152 mile an hour. Interesting in the launch though. Remember, these are both 9-degree heads, been lofted down by 1 degree, so we're playing them at 8 degrees. I got 14.1 out of the launch out of the Wilson compared to 12.5 launch out of the Ping. And then if we look at spin numbers, and this is again, I would expect the LST to be a little bit lower in the spin, possibly over the carbon, but 2,106 an average spin out of the Wilson compared to 2,354 out of the Ping. Both of them are a little inconsistent. So what I mean by that is that my performance in the studio today, a little bit inconsistent, which is showing that I'm striking it a little bit all over the face, and therefore my spin numbers are jumping around a little bit. Peaking out 36 yards high with the Wilson compared to 33 yards high with the Ping, kind of what you'd expect to see considering that the Ping just launching a little bit lower. And then average carry, I'm getting 262 average carry out of the Wilson compared to 256 average carry out of the Ping. Again, just inconsistent from my point of view from a strike performance, which is jumping around with all my spin numbers and also all my carry numbers. If I go best to best, I've got a 266 carry out of the Wilson. If I go best on the Ping, 262. So very similar from best to best to actual averages as well. Well, are you still convinced that the Wilson is still the club that you want to keep warm in your golf bag?
Yes, very much so. I mean, today was not the greatest day for either of us really when it comes to swinging in the studio, but you've played around with me with the Wilson. I don't think I've hit a club as straight as I hit that.
You did well with it.
And it goes further than the max, the 425 max. What I've found with this, and I don't know if you saw it in the comments of yours, but on the comments of mine, people are like, why would I pay £400 for a Wilson?
That's just a mindset. That's what you've got to get your
So this is
over.
$499 retail. Probably it's going to be around $449, $429, thereabouts. But so the problem is people look at it as resale value.
Yeah.
So the resale value on this is going to be lower than the resale value on that.
Do people buy drivers from resale value?
100%.
Do they?
Yeah, 100%.
Really?
Whereas I would rather...
Down in the comments, I'd like to hear, are you buying a driver based on resale value?
Probably people will say no, but I bet there's that little thing in the back going, well, this might be £100 resale in 6 months when the new one comes out, but that will be 300, so I'll buy that. Whereas actually, I'd rather pay £400 for something that performs for me now. I don't care about the name.
Yeah.
I want something that performs for me rather than paying $450 up to $600 for something that doesn't quite do it for me because I'll sell it on better at the time.
Which club manufacturer has won the most majors?
That one.
Correct. But when it comes to that side of it, you talk about, I'm not paying for that, I'm not doing... Okay, yes, there's that perceived sort of idea that in historic that the Wilson hasn't performed as well as possibly what the Ping has. But are Wilson doing themselves a disservice by not shouting from the rooftops and saying we've got carbon fly wrap and a forged face and la-di-da, all that other stuff? Does that
Ping
not
don't
help?
do it either. Ping don't shout. They're not marketing kings, are they?
No, well, they're not. No, you're absolutely right. But they do have big words that they like to use.
Well, this has got carbon, Dynapwr. I mean, Dynapwr is a world-renowned name in irons, especially in the past. But I think if that didn't say Wilson and that said Callaway for £400, this would be the best-selling driver of the year. Yeah. All day long.
Almost too quiet in my view. Looking down at them, two of them there. Which one are you going to? Which one's popping out of you?
That one.
Exactly.
That one's jumping off the shelf.
Jumping at you, isn't it? So
100%.
But we'd like to hear what you think. Would you be interested in testing the Wilson driver? It's performing for us in here, performing for both of us. But would you be more interested in testing the Ping over the Wilson? We'd like to hear down in the comments.
Truthfully, in the comments.
Truthfully, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Lee, for your time again. Don't forget to go and check out Lee's channel if you haven't already checked that out. A big thank you to Ping, a big thank you to Wilson for allowing us to test their two drivers. And
this is going back warm in my bag.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all again very soon.